Darkness corrupts light and light corrupts dark. Both sit in a balance. Both sit in a harmony. But if that balance is upset, what happens? What happens when the scale of Libra pulls in favor of the other? What happens when one side wants to understand the other? What happens when judgment is not balance? Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly. You're not like the others. You seek truth. Good. Today we'll be covering the Long Walk, the sniper rifle that seems to be the only clear sense of common sense lore that we can uncover about the Nine. The rest of the weapons, per my thinking, do tie back to some more of the legends of the Nine, but they don't really add much except more riddles, doublespeak, and questions, or a process of the Nine's judgment. The Long Walk is of particular interest, especially when we break down who it is that's talking, or at least seems like it. As a quick call out, this is the final chapter in a mini-series on the Nine, and you can find all relevant videos on the topic in the suggested videos eye in the top right corner. Before we read things over, however, I want to make it clear my thoughts on lore as it is in Destiny 2. I feel that weapons and items are directly linked back to their main sources, for instance, here with the Long Walk being a weapon that relates to the Nine. I feel that anything referenced within it, as with several Grimoire cards in the past, would be a direct correlation to the main material. However, this has not always been the case with lore in the past, and I understand that. Destiny 2 seems to be a particular different breed of lore that we need to fully decipher. That being said, let's move on with the Long Walk. 8 sparks, a 9th dim in the corner, and Orin in the middle. Orin, are we all here? Come into the light, please. G9, I like where I am. Orin, they said you all went to the deep without a ship. How? G7, our charges are gone, but we're still creatures of light. No different from the one you carry in your pocket. Orin, you're all either very brave or very foolish. G6, you sound like Shax. G5, she does. I'm glad my charge is gone. G4, don't say that. G5, it's true. G4, don't say it out loud. Some of us go our whole lives without finding one. Show some respect. G5, don't talk like you're better than me. You're in here too. Orin, please. I'm sorry to call you all here, but G2, you're not sorry. Orin, I need to know what you found out there. G9, nothing. Orin, at least give me the coordinates. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Orin seems like a guardian from the one phrase that the one ghost here, which is G7, states, no different from the one you carry in your pocket. Oh yeah, these are totally ghosts. Okay, it at least gives off the vast impression that these are ghosts. A few words really stand out. In the top portion, it says sparks, which can be easily called little lights. And if I need to reference that...
Little light.
Little light.
Don't do that. I'm a ghost, actually.
They also speak on either losing their charges or never having found one. A charge in my interpretation here would be a guardian, and that would say not all of these ghosts had them, but perhaps most of them did. I'm going to venture a guess on the identity of these ghosts, and they're ones that we know of within the Grimoire so far. Holborn's host references 7 lost ghosts within the Titan Grimoire card. A ghost without a guardian. I remember when I was risen, you know, when I woke in that wreckage, to see my ghost hovering there, its light in my eyes like an angel, and it said, this story again, disrespectful youngster. Youngster? I could be older than you, Taban. True. The guard brace is fine now, stop worrying about it. Will you take the Jigoku? Thought I'd take the long rifle. Bale has the Jigoku. Good. That ghost, what do you think is wrong with it? It's echoing something ancient and old Earth language. You know, what the ghost reminds me of flittering about over there. I don't. The time ghosts from Jaggy's host came back without them. Remember? They got in that fight some point east of the Caspian. 7 ghosts, damn near silent, buzzing with some sort of corruption, drifting back to the tower, one by one. Scared the speaker well enough. I remember. Long time ago. Jaggy tells the story differently. Well, that accounts for 7 ghosts, and I don't think this one that Holborn is talking to would be one of them due to the possible timing of the 9 emerging within our system, but that's for a different day. I'll sum this up as easy as I can. Jaggy's host losing their guardians doesn't have a time placed on it. We don't necessarily know when Holborn was out on Mars either, but it may have been before the Cabal were on the planet, or perhaps even after our guardian clears the exclusion zone, which means a time we were able to freely get out there before the city was fully constructed, or even a time after. We don't know of any dealings with the 9 during the early days of Destiny either, meaning the time of the Iron Lords, so I'm left to assume that the 9 popped up somewhere around the Queen's time in the Reef, but sometime after we may have started to collect underneath the Traveler. Oh God, why did I bring the Queen up? The Queen's relation to the 9 is for an entirely different day, and I really wonder how far I want to take these ideas of the 9 and her involvement. Anywho, let's move on. At least one of these ghosts never found a guardian. This is alluded to by G4. It was the first one to be quick to defend one of the other ghosts, or even itself, so the question remains who it might be. But the last one, Ghost 9, it seems to have this extreme like of the dark, saying, I like where I am. I won't argue the possibility that any being that comes in contact with the dark, no matter how much they say they're still beings of the light, could just be very comfortable in the dark. Still, as lost ghosts go, there's one in particular that could have a real want to understand the darkness in order to try and save his charge and friend, Dredgen. What? Whoa, hang on with the dislike button. Hear me out here. This ghost seems to be quick to appreciate the darkness. I feel it important to read excerpts of Thorn 3 from here, so let's look over this a bit more. I should note that the first one that's here, the 1.0, is going to be listed as the ghost, and the 2.0 will be listed at Dredgen. You were not always this man. True. Then the math says you do not need to remain this man. You can be other. I am other. You can be better. This is better. That matter, at best, is subjective. Then what? Lesser. Some would say. But what would you say? To throw in a bit of interpretation here, I've always felt the ghost just didn't have the understanding it needed of the dark to really give a full answer back to Yor in this case. Looking at you here, now, the smoke, ash, and bone at your feet mark you as so much less. Maybe. And yet here you are. Meaning, you have been at my side every step of the way. Where else would I be? Yet you disagree so thoroughly with my change in perspective. If only the change was simply one of perspective, your evolution was no choice. This is not you having come to an understanding after careful considered thought. This is corruption. Yor's ghost is seen here still having a lot of feelings for Yor, as I'd expect. Ghosts are, after all, bonded to us from the moment we revive. His want to turn Yor back to the light is of interest in this passage, however. Consider this my last good deed. I am releasing you from the burden of my deeds, both done and yet to come. I will not abandon you. You will, or I will carve the light from your shell and leave the carcass of my first and last friend in the dirt of this dull, red world for no one to find. Then I failed you completely. Not me. Maybe the man I was. He is truly dead. I believe so. Belief is not fact. Semantics I no longer have the patience for. Once again, Yor's ghost calls up interest in not abandoning him to the darkness. From here, Yor's ghost and Yor himself part ways. They seemingly go to do whatever else they wish, or at least to a point. It's argued that perhaps Yor's ghost went to the aid of Jaren Ward, the original owner of the Last Word, and that could be true, but I doubt that past telling the story to someone and Jaren picking up on the trail of the lost guardian Dredgen Yor, this ghost still held on to some kind of hope. With other lost guardians from Jaggy or other ghosts entirely, his hope could have been to save Yor, or at least understand what Yor was going on about. I could also just be making my own headcanon that has gone pretty far off the beaten path, or as beaten path as the 9 get. As another note, they could also be part of the Jovian Guard, whom we don't know much about per this point. A lot of possibilities. I like mine better, don't care. Anyway, what's the significance of introducing the ghosts? Well, that comes back to Xur, or at least I think so. Ghosts have a type of pattern that they store about their guardian. This allows the ghost to reconstruct and heal their guardian in a hurry, gathering up the necessary light that is needed to heal them. With ghosts that have been touched by the darkness, or at least so they say, the question is how their light may have been affected. We know that ghosts can heal us without the light, but they can't revive us without a constant flow of light. That opening definitely caused some feels, man. Anyway, with these ghosts referred to as sparks, it makes me think that they are losing their light, or at the very least, their connection. Okay, where am I going with this? Ghosts hold copies of guardians. They need light to revive and heal to a point. The revival part is the important part when dealing with Xur. Even if my idea on the guardian pattern being used to revive Xur is wrong, the idea that a set of ghosts could gather enough light to revive certain cells of a culmination of cells, I don't think that's too outlandish. There's nothing that proves this, but it would be an interesting reason for why ghosts would be involved with the Nine. Well, these ghosts would have to be the Nine then, yeah? Nah. The ghosts that are here are involved with the Nine. The Ahamkara are involved with the Nine. I mean, these ghosts had to go out and touch the void somehow, and the Ahamkara seem to have the ability to ride the void or touch space in some way. The legend, after all, states, the Nine are ghosts who peered the deep black without a ship and meditated on the hissing silence of the heliopause. It just ties together well, you know? The Nine haven't revealed themselves to us yet. We haven't seen anything more than what we want to see, with them showing us through the thought manipulations of the Ahamkara, living on the legends that have been passed down over the ages of who the Nine are. The Nine will continue to be enigmatic until they call for us again, on the lines of filaments of dark matter, in the hydrocarbon pits of distant moons, in a signal from deep space, on the speech of viral pure meaning. The Nine are going to remain that way until they wish to open up the doors, using proxies and other competent forces around the solar system to assist in their endeavors. The Awoken are no different, a means to an end, or one that gave them an advantage. The Awoken did not have a choice. We did. Xur very cryptically leaves this message for us once in a while. Anyway, the Nine are easily set off, telling Mara Sov to keep away from certain sectors of space, to act in certain ways, and to keep distance away from the Nine. It almost feels like there's two coalitions forming within our little soul system, all these players on the field. All of them beings we've cast out already, or have a hard time allying with. The Ahamkara seemingly killed off by us. Infected ghosts left with little to no other home but to be deactivated. The Awoken wanting to hold on to their birthright and not ally with us in the tower too openly unless absolutely needed. Whatever the Nine may be, cast out or never allied with us in the first place, a new force, one of darkness or light, it's unknown. What I will say is I'm willing to understand this idea of judgment they offer us a bit more. They don't seem to practice the ideas of sword logic like that of Callus. They seem more open to the ideas of using our powers and training our light, somewhat similar to that of a certain guardian that left her station of her own free will. In either event, I'm curious to hear what you guys think of my full assessment on the Nine, or at least this portion of the ghosts. Do you think there could be other well-known ghosts that could be in this collective of chargeless ghosts? Let me know who they might be. As always, the like and dislike button is there for you to tell me what you thought of this episode in a hurry, with the subscribe button being there for more lore, ideas, and thoughts from me in the future. If you're not sure what to say in the comments, you can always say, "full of lies," to signify just how much the Nine seem to be truthful with us. If nothing else, however, I thank you for getting this far, all the way to the end, and listening to my ramblings. This has been quite the little adventure. Before I completely wrap things up, however, I do have to give one shout out to Lady Liz, who supplied all of the trials footage that you guys have seen over the course of the last few videos. Thanks to her, I was able to actually learn a lot more of what was inside of the trial space, because frankly, I'm pretty terrible at PvP. Thank you again, Liz, and thank you guys so much for anybody else that had helped over the course of this little mini-series. It was greatly appreciated, and trust me, very needed. Next time, well, we have our own representatives in the tower that I need to question and speak about. I'll see you next Spacetime Guardian. Take care.